our special guest today, I met him, oh my goodness, how many years ago, doing a show for a charity event. It was Cats for Cats. We performed at the Orpheum Theater in Los Angeles. How many? Oh my gosh, seems like so long ago now. It was so much fun. I was so impressed. He is a conductor, arranger, composer, and trombone player, and holds a music degree from UCLA, which we'll forgive him for.
Hey.
He's music directed over 120 musicals, just a couple of musicals, and was also nominated for Outstanding Musical Direction for National Youth Theater Arts Award for La Habra Theater. Oh my goodness, for Sweeney Todd. So without further ado, here is Greg Haake.
Hello.
Yay. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for interviewing with me. I know it's it's summer. Happy summer. Let's hear a bit about you and how you got into music.
Well, to be honest, I don't ever remember not being in music. I grew up in a musical family, like a lot of us.
Nice.
My parents were not professional musicians, but they're both piano players. They sang in the church choir. So we always had music in the house. I really grew up with a lot of classical and jazz music. My dad was a big Stan Kenton fan. So we had great music in the house all the time. So it's always been around me and in me. Started taking piano lessons.
No choice, yeah.
Started taking piano lessons in 3rd grade. In 5th grade, I took up the trombone to be in the school band. Wow. Also did choir at school.
Oh my goodness.
And off it went from there. So that's kind of how I got started, but it really was always there. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Cello and violin, elementary school. What? I made it to honor orchestra, you know, 4th grade. I was clearly proficient. But yeah, well, so how do you go from, obviously, because you did conducting, you did all this, or you've done, conducting and music directing, all this stuff. Like, how did you get into that? Like, what was your major at UCLA, even though USC is better, fight on. But yeah, so what did you major in? And did you kind of just fall into music after that? Or you just, as you said, you grew up in a music household, like no choice.
Yeah,
right?
No, didn't fall into it, but majored in music with a emphasis in music education at UCLA. So that was an excellent foundation for conducting and music direction, because you learn all the instruments and how they all work. You actually have to learn how to play all the instruments, from violins to snare drums to harps to anything.
Wow.
And they have a great education program there, and prepared me very well for that. And so right after school, then I became a band director at high school. Nice. And you need to put all of your skills to work there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the start of it.
Oh my goodness. That's right. The conducting thing, I just remember I told my conducting teacher, I was like, I'm not going to be a conductor. I just help me out with this. I can't do it. It's just not something I'm ever going to do. So I completely respect what you decided to do with your life. I'm happy you're doing it, not me. Oh my goodness. That's just wait. I think I'd stress out. That's incredible. But yeah. So what's your favorite thing about conducting or being? So how did you jump, I guess, from being conductor to musical director? Was that just automatic in the high schools, or?
No, that one kind of was not an accident per se, but a happy happenstance. I had done a few musicals as a pit performer at school, and then also as the band director at the high school I was at, conducting the orchestra for musicals. But that's all I did as a participant until our son in 4th grade decided to be part of the 4th grade musical at his elementary school. And he loved it. And so he went on after that to join a community troupe we have here in Fullerton. And so I got involved with those folks, and that kicked it off from there. And really loved being involved with the musical theater, both as a musical director and as a pit player and as a conductor and everything else that goes along with it. So I really got my education in musical theater per se through that. So that was a happy accident, if you will.
Oh my goodness. Well, let's face it, like kids start everything for you, huh? That's right.
Yeah.
As soon as your kid's involved, you're like, oh yeah, I could do this.
Yeah, it's great.
That's amazing. Well, what are your future goals with music? What are any future goals with music directing? Are you just
my biggest goal is to keep doing it as long as I can,
Now that we're getting back to it, right? Live musicals and live shows and all that stuff.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, it's been terrible. Right when COVID hit, we were in the middle of producing Matilda, which is a very neat, and we had gone through the entire rehearsal process. Our dress rehearsal was on May the 12th or March the 12th of 2000.
Yeah.
And that night was it. That's when we did our dress rehearsal and everything shut down the following day. And so we never got a chance to actually perform the show after all of that preparation, all that work.
Oh my gosh. Costumes
and sets and, rehearsals and everything, and boom, shut it down. So that was heartbreaking, obviously. And then to go that long, almost a year and a half without working with the kids and working with my colleagues, teaching, rehearsing, all those wonderful things that we love.
Yeah.
After that, to have nothing for so long, it was terribly depressing. And I'm sure we've all felt the same thing, you and your students alike. It's been terrible. We finally, some friends and I got together and we did a production of Midsummer Night's Dream a month ago with masks and outside and socially distanced and all this stuff. It was a huge compromise, but it was wonderful just to get back to doing it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, you mentioned, you told me about that. It was a good success, huh?
It went very well. Yes. Considering.
I think the enthusiasm behind it as well also helps, any unconventional aspects.
It was great. And the kids had a great time. The parents were extremely grateful, which was very nice. We were kind of worried that they would be hesitant about having the kids go and supporting it and all, but they were ecstatic to have the kids out of the house and doing stuff that they love to do. And so it was a very positive experience for all of us, really.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. That's as soon as people started coming back, students are like, yeah, can I come? They wanted to come back to my house, coming live again. And I was like, yeah, why not? Why don't I do it? Oh my goodness. Oh, that's fantastic. So we already talked about your training. We already talked about what you studied and going into high schools and started doing band and started doing musical theater after your, kind of kids started you on that path. Right. So how do you get to 120 musicals? That seems very large, but specific number. Oh my goodness. Because I looked at your list on your website and whatnot. It's long. Oh my goodness.
It's a big list. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, it's mostly a case of longevity. It's not like I do 3 shows a week. It's just that I've been doing it for a lot of years, so they add up. But it does make a big list, and it's kind of fun to see what I've done over the years. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's a lot. Holy moly. Now, do you have a favorite musical?
I get asked that a lot. I tend to have favorites in eras. Mm-hmm. So there's the early era, Rodgers and Hammerstein and so forth. And of those, I love The King and I, and I love The Sound of Music.
Yeah.
And then as we move forward, there's favorites. Honestly, if I had to pick a single show that's my favorite, I think it would probably be West Side Story.
West Side Story.
A towering work of genius. Incredible, just incredible. The music is unmatched. But every bit as much, I love In the Heights. I love Chess. Yeah. I love, so there's musicals from every era that I adore. But those are
the main
highlights
ones
for me. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, those are
Yeah.
good musicals. Oh my gosh. No, like in well, when we met, oh my goodness, for cats. That's I'm right with that. Oh my goodness. I
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
blanked for a second.
What was that, about
Um,
eight or 9 years ago now?
I don't, it's almost a decade. I don't want to think about that. Oh
Yeah,
my
I
gosh.
know.
It was just last year. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I remember, so of course my journey, and I like my journey and whatnot, and you were so kind and I to answer me, because when I got into the show and whatnot, and I had, because I had audition questions as to, kind of what I could do better, and what was good, what was bad, like maybe, things that should change and whatnot. And you were so kind to answer that honestly. Um, and I wanted to know, and especially for, my students who are, especially, they're doing their high school productions now, especially now that they're live or soon to be live again.
Mhm.
Or even people out in the real world and whatnot, like, in your opinion as a music director, like what makes a good audition? Like what do you actually look for? Because it's not just talent, right? It's a couple different nuances that some of them are controllable, some of them are not, right?
Yeah, I could probably give a 2-hour masterclass on that one question if I really
Ready.
tried. Yeah. Let me go through some things.
Tell me.
First, I want to say, you know what I remember from meeting you on that
Oh, what?
was actually the discussion we had before. If you remember, we were there early
Oh,
and we
really?
were waiting for the building to open up.
Oh gosh.
And we talked,
Uh-huh.
and I got a really favorable impression of you just talking, just person to person. Seriously, it was very nice.
Me talking? Never.
Yeah,
Oh my
it
God.
was very nice.
Well,
Anyway,
that's right.
it-
Always
but
talk really, really well to anybody you're
just be
auditioning
nice,
for.
be a
That's
good
right.
person, right? But I do, I
That is
remember
true.
that.
That always, oh, good. Oh my goodness. I'm so pleased.
But anyway, so some audition tips.
Uh-huh.
Of course, first of all, be prepared technically. There's no point in going in and doing a bad job.
That's true.
There's
Very much so.
always, with everyone, room for improvement, of course, but do the best you can do, and that comes down to being prepared. As a director, there's nothing worse than going into an audition and having somebody walk in reading their script or reading their music. There's no excuse for that. Memorize this stuff, be prepared. If you haven't memorized it, you probably don't know it well enough.
Okay. All right.
Another thing is to be friendly, right? We got to work
Yeah.
with these people. Be a
You
good
want them to
person.
want to work with you, right?
Right, be a nice person.
Yeah.
Confidence is very good. And that's difficult because an audition is a inherently stressful, nervous-making thing,
Yeah.
right? But if you've prepared properly, then there's no reason not to be confident. If you're nervous, it probably means you're not ready. You're not prepared properly. You don't know your stuff.
Yeah.
What else? Have your music prepared for easy reading by the accompanist.
Oh yeah. That's a make or break.
Now, this can be different for a high school or junior high situation where everybody's singing the same things and the piano player knows just what to play and so on. But if you're doing some kind of outside or professional level audition, you, the auditioner, are coming in with your own music and you're going to sing the song that you've prepared.
Yeah.
There is nothing more aggravating, and this happens all the time. All the time. There's nothing more aggravating than having the auditioner walk over to the piano player, put the music on the piano, and then spend 5 minutes explaining to the pianist how to do it.
How to do it.
Okay, yeah. You're gonna play these 4 bars and then skip down here and then slow down here and then skip back and do that. Drives us crazy. There's no reason for it.
There's a reason for all those notes. Just make it as simple as possible. As simple as you
Yes.
can. Big arrows.
Either prepare the music so that it's easy to sight read by the accompanist, or ask or hire someone to do it for you. It's a simple thing. You
Yeah.
should be able to set it on the music stand and they can read right through it with no muss, no fuss.
Yep.
That's a really big bugaboo for me. So there's that. Another thing is,
In there.
yeah, another thing is not apologizing. It's very easy to walk in there and say, oh, I'm sorry, my throat's a little scratchy this week, or I have a cold, or you make a mistake and you apologize, and forget that, you know.
Yeah.
We're human. Everybody makes mistakes, particularly in a high stress situation like an audition. Just go through it. When you're on stage doing the show,
Mm-hmm.
you can't apologize to the audience.
Yeah.
If your pants fall down, you just keep singing. You know, it's
Yeah.
you just have to go. So you do the same thing in audition. We need to know, we as the auditioners, we need to know that you are on top of things and no little distractions are going to bother you. So just go in, don't apologize, go right through it.
I like that. I like that a lot.
We can talk about dress.
Oh yeah, go in. Hey, go into it.
Yeah.
All my kids, I tell actually pretty much everything except for the friendly part. I guess I left out I just assumed people would be friendly, but yeah,
You'd be
this
surprised.
is fantastic.
You'd be surprised. So you want to look nice, obviously. Don't come in looking sloppy with torn up jeans and whatever. Some people feel that it's important to dress almost in costume for the show or the part that they're trying out for. That's generally not a great idea.
Yeah.
Right. Because your idea of the look of the show is probably not the same as the costume designers and the director's idea of the show. So just look nice.
Yeah.
Don't think you improve your chances by dressing up as a cowboy to audition for Oklahoma. Okay.
I like it.
I see it all the time. So you don't need to do that. Just dress nicely. On the other hand, dress in a way that makes sense. I've had many young women come up in front of me wearing some kind of super tight cocktail dress and high heels, and you know, they can barely walk. And
you want to be comfortable.
You want to be comfortable, or at least appropriate. This is not a beauty pageant or a you know, whatever, that kind of situation. You're not trying to impress people with your wardrobe. You're trying to impress people with your ability.
Your ability.
So don't detract from the ability with some outrageous kind of dressing, men and women. What else? In a musical theater audition in particular, probably the first thing you're going to be asked to do is sing, obviously. But that's not a recital, right?
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
You are a character in a story.
Okay.
And one of the things I work very hard with my actors is to sing as the character, not just sing. I hate it when somebody's a great singer, but comes out of character to sing. Right? If
you got to have that connection to the material.
You have to be that person that's singing the song.
Yeah.
And so that requires even more preparation, because now you have to know, what is the show about? What is that character about? What is that character's motivations? Make some choices in the audition to actually be the character while you're auditioning.
Okay.
Later on, if there's callbacks, or if they like you or whatever, there may be acting auditions or dance calls and so on.
Stuff.
Okay. That's a whole nother subject too, but you have to be prepared and good.
Be ready with those dance shoes. Be ready with the tap shoes if it's a tap show. Be ready, just like with a go bag. Whenever you get a car, just you have it there. Or, you know, it's like when you're being driven by your parents, you know, it's like you just have a bag that just has stuff.
It all comes down to preparedness. Very often, the directors will ask you to read or sing something other than what you've brought.
Yep.
Okay. In other words, if you brought a beautiful ballad or an aria to sing, and you sing it great, but the directors might think you may fit the part of some kind of character, a comedic character, or some kind of manic character, or something like that. So they may ask you, hey, have you brought anything that's more upbeat or more contemporary or less contemporary, or, you know, right? So it's always good to have in your book a half a dozen songs of all different styles. Don't think that you have prepared. And
not
the
the ones
music,
that you wanted to do. Yeah,
the
ones that
music
you've
is
already
prepared to
picked.
give to the pianist and all that kind of stuff. And it's a great confidence builder in the directors.
Yeah.
If I ask you, do you have something more upbeat or contemporary? And you say, oh, yes.
Yeah.
Pianist,
Here's a
please turn to number 3, and we'll do that. If I ask that question and you say, oh, no, you know, then I lose confidence in you, the auditioner, right?
Or if they ask that question and the music or the pianist says, oh, they have this, and you're just like, oh, maybe not that one.
The point is that, well, the point is to have choices for the auditioners and to be able to impress them in different ways, because you may not fit the part you think you fit.
Yeah.
And this is a really important part about auditions, is to know your type and to accept that your idea of what part you should get in a show may not be the same as the director's idea of what part you should have in the show. And there's 100 things that goes into that, and casting is an art all of its own. And you as the auditioner have very little control over that, right? So you may do a fantastic job and not get cast, or you may do a fantastic job and get cast in something completely different than you think you should be cast in. But you know, you get the job. So
and even some, especially the callbacks, if you get a callback, it's a success. It's like a successful, you still might have a great audition at first, but if you get a callback, it's always a success. You're like,
I would back up and say, if you do your best job and you're happy with your job, that's a success.
That's a success too. I like it.
Because you may have a really successful audition in terms of your presentation and your performance, but you just don't fit into the director's vision of the show.
Yeah.
But the musical theater community is rather small, and we all know each other. And whether it's in LA or New York or Chicago or wherever, it's a pretty small community. And if Danielle comes in and auditions for me and doesn't quite fit a part that I can find, but if she does a great job, I will remember. And next time she comes in, I'll say, oh yeah, I remember Danielle, she was fantastic. Yeah. Or if I'm talking to another director and she says, I need a great soprano. Oh, hey, Danielle.
Hey, I know someone. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very important. Your reputation is very important.
Yeah.
So, you know, always be prepared, always do your best, and don't think of it as a failure if you don't get a callback or you don't get a part, because it is not necessarily.
Yeah. It's a game of golf. That's right. It's like you're only besting yourself. So like you go in, I always tell my students, go in with like 1 or 2 things that you want to accomplish in that audition, because, you know, like with butterflies and everything, all you can, you know, you focus on what you can focus on. And then if you do it, fantastic. And if you don't do it, you're like, all right, next time. Like it's just auditioning is totally different from performance, in my opinion, but
it is.
It's such a different skill.
Yeah. One of the things somebody told me early on that helped was the people doing the auditioning want you to be great. Yeah. We have a problem. Our problem is we have all of these parts that we need to fill with people. Yep. And if we get 25 people come in an audition and they're all terrible, then that's a huge problem. We want you to be great. We want the show to be great. And if you're great, then the show is going to be great.
Problem.
Right. So don't feel like it's an us against them battle. Yeah. Right. They're with you. They want you to be good. Yeah. So go in with confidence, feeling that. Even if they're, you know, sitting back like this, you know, still they want you to be great.
That's right. They could just be sleeping because it might be 5 o'clock. They're still listening, but they just may not look as engaged as they did at 8 o'clock in the morning, right? No, I love this. So I think it kind of goes into the any big no-nos in audition. It's pretty much come in prepared. You know,
Yeah.
it's like the big no-nos come when it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll ask you that. Let me ask you, do you have any stories, worst or best audition stories, or worst or best shows? You don't have to tell any names.
I have a list this long of worst audition stories. I had a woman come in. We were doing, I think, Oklahoma.
Um,
And a woman came in and she started talking the moment she crossed the threshold of the door. And she kept talking for 5 minutes. And it was just a constant stream of excuses and I don't know, it was just crazy. And I'm like this. The director actually had to say, "Stop talking, stop talking." Yeah, it was not good.
She was so nervous. Oh dear. Oh,
And
goodness.
here's another no that she came in with a boombox with her accompaniment. This is a big no in a professional audition. There's a pianist there. You give them the music, they will play it. You sing to it. You do not come in with your own boombox and sing to something that's pre-recorded. It's just not done. She did that too. So that was bad.
Oh, a CD maybe, like, like in your purse just in case, but
not good. Or
USB
almost
now.
as bad is the singer that will come in and say, "Oh no, I just want to sing a cappella." Happens all the time. It never works. Bring in your music, the pianist will play it.
All right. Well, before we get to student questions and whatnot, I want to ask you what is my favorite question of all of our interviewees, if you will, of all of our music chats. And what advice would you tell students in a post-COVID world who want to pursue the arts, whether professionally or just in high school or just in middle school, wherever they're at? What advice would you give to those kids kind of just starting out? What are your thoughts?
My biggest advice is to learn everything you can. Don't stop learning. And part of that is learning a wide variety of things that you can. If you really like a certain style of music, the tendency is to want to just listen to that kind of music all the time. Break out of your comfort zone. Listen to jazz, listen to classical, listen to Tower of Power, listen to the Beatles, listen to Adele, listen to everything, and become familiar with all of the styles and all the different ways of making music. And along with that, you have a great advantage now that I never had, which is the internet and the ability to look things up instantly, look up anything instantly. When I was in college, if I needed a score for a symphony or a musical or something, I had to trudge over to the music library and actually check it out. Nowadays, 5 keystrokes on the internet and you can have it in front of you. Yeah. So start getting used to reading the music as you're listening to it. That'll help your sight reading. That'll help your just music reading altogether. But it also puts you on the road to understanding how music works. What makes this piece good? Why does this work? Is it the progression of the chords? Is it the rhythm? Is it both? Is it the vocal harmony? Is it the way the trumpets sound with the saxes? I mean, there's so many things, but you'll never learn them unless you make the effort to do so. Get the music, get the printed music and read it as you're listening. Start to learn how to equate one with the other. And that'll help you out as a performer. If you're interested in directing or conducting, of course, you absolutely have to know that stuff.
Yeah.
But that's the way to start going about it. I would also add one more thing is learn as many instruments as you can. And don't worry about becoming virtuoso on any of them, but learn them. Do you know how a flute makes a sound? How does that work? Well, try it. Try guitar, try a trumpet. Learn as much as you can about every aspect of music, and none of it will be wasted time. None of it.
Wow. I like that. Okay, so student questions. Okay, so
Okay,
thank you.
great.
Let me go to my phone. Let's see. So we have our first question. This one's going actually continuing on with the audition
Mhm.
stuff with resumes. So do you actually read our resumes? And
We
how,
do. We do.
Okay.
And it's, well, let me say, first of all, never lie on a resume.
Mm,
Never put down stuff that you didn't really do.
yep.
The biggest thing about the resume is it sets some expectations, and that can be good and bad. If I see that you were a lead in The Light in the Piazza, then that sets up an expectation of, oh, this person is legit. You know, they can really, this is difficult music and they can really do it. If I see on a resume, this person has only done You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown is Seussical, that sets up a different expectation in my mind that they don't have too much in the way of real good musical theater experience. Having said that, none of it matters once you stand up there and start singing.
Yeah.
If you have 0 items on your resume and you get up there and blow us away, we could care less. Right? So it's more than any, some people think, you know, this great resume is going to guarantee you the job. No way. It's all down to the performance.
Okay. I like it. Very good answer. My goodness. No special skills. Did you ever like read the special skills? I had a friend of mine who put
Oh yeah.
under special skills, what is it? Fluent in sarcasm. She only got one guy to actually go like one just to see if people read her resume, and like she said one, I think only one, maybe two people actually, you know, had read all the way down and they laughed because she saw them visibly laugh.
Yeah.
I was like, that's just put a couple special, right? A couple jokes.
You get a lot of juggling and horseback riding and
That's
stuff
right.
like that. Yeah.
Okay. Another question is, okay, what is your biggest regret music wise, if any? Do you have any big regrets or things you want to do?
I would say, honestly, my biggest regret is not being better at the piano. It's always a limitation for me. And it's not like I didn't try, but I really lacked the coordination to do it properly. I'm not a good piano player. So if I had worked longer and harder at it as a kid, it would have helped me later on. So that would be my biggest one. Yeah. So
nice.
Learn your piano.
Learn your piano. That's right. I like that one. Okay, so our next, got 2 more. In your opinion, with all the online education out there, so I assume like YouTube and, you know, I guess even colleges too, would you recommend students go to college for formal education in music? Ooh, I've had that question. Oh my goodness.
Depending on what you want to do, I would say yes.
And why?
As a teacher myself, of course, I highly value education. Yeah. And like I said before, you can never learn enough. You always should be learning more things. To this day, I'm learning new things all the time. Having said that, in certain special cases, education may not be completely necessary. Don't let your parents know that I said this, but I mean, literally, Simone Biles did not need a formal education to be the best gymnast on earth. Okay, that was a very special talent that did not require education per se. Yeah.
The right. Formal sense, yeah.
But that's a 1 in a million thing. For the rest of us normal humans, absolutely, education is the most important thing you can do because it sets you up for everything else, right? If you don't succeed in one thing that you're going for, having good education allows you to readjust your targets and do something else. Whereas if you don't have that background, it's going to be more difficult to switch.
To readjust.
Yeah, right. So yes, get an education, go to college, seriously.
I like that. And especially with like, what is it? Life throws you curveballs. And I think with the pandemic and everything, I think that's a great example of
Oh
just,
man.
you never know. Like you just never know what to expect. So it's always nice to have like just the ability to have like the ability for that freedom to just be like, okay, it's not quite succeeding right here. Let's just adjust. And then you could really dig in.
Yeah, freedom is a good way to put it. And if you have the confidence and the background that education gives you, it does give you freedom to try different things. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I describe technique. I was like, technique is not everything. There's plenty of people who sing or do things without technique and they make millions of dollars. It's not everything, but it's definitely like, it's freedom. Like, so that, you have longevity. It's not, doesn't mean you're going to make millions of dollars, but it does mean that, you'll sing into your 80s, like you'll do
Right. Yeah.
sing as long as you want. Right.
Mhm.
Without having to stop. But, our final it looks like our final question. Yeah. Okay. Our final question that I have from our students is, how do you prepare for a musical and what's your process? So I assume as a music director or conductor, what's your process?
That's a great question. And I'll start by saying that being a musical director and being the conductor of the pit orchestra are two separate things entirely.
Okay.
The job of the musical director is to shape and teach the music for the entire show. So obviously you have to know the score backwards and forwards. You have to know all the harmonies, all the vocal harmonies, all the parts, everything. And more importantly, you have to have a concept of what you want the musical to sound like. Part of that is developed in conjunction with the director. You will meet with the director, find out what their concept of it is. And then if they have some strong opinions, you have to adjust your own thinking to fit into that mold. It's a very collaborative situation, the musical director and the choreographer and the director and the set designer. And it's a big team effort, which I really enjoy. Yeah. But that's a big part of it. So as a music director, you need to know every note backwards and forward in the whole thick score, right? And be able to teach and rehearse and mold that music for the cast. So the preparation is, dig in and learn the score. You play through it on the piano, you go back, you sing the parts, you do the whole thing. As a conductor, and depending on your level, whether it's professional level or a school level or whatever, it may be the same person, but the idea is different. As a conductor, your job is to, of course, lead the orchestra, but also the conductor in a musical has a very important job of making the thing move forward at the proper pace. And there are cues that are very important, and you may need to start the music on a certain word or a phrase or an action on the stage. So you're always watching up on the stage and listening and know you need to start there. And so that's a technique beyond normal conducting technique where you're standing in front of an orchestra and playing the symphony. You are taking those skills and putting them together with what's happening on the stage and making sure that things are happening at the right time. It's difficult if you haven't done it. and to this day, that's one of the most challenging parts of it. Now, the preparation for that is, of course, again, knowing all of the music really well. But there's the added situation of knowing what the instrumental players have. Is it a trumpet that comes in here? Is it a violin that comes in? Who's supposed to play that line? So you can look at them and cue them, say, play this now, And then you also have to understand the stage direction. And I spend a lot of time with the director and in rehearsal, learning the way that the director has blocked the show, so that I know where those cue points are. And there may be 100 of them in a show, and you really need to know where they are and how they work. there are times when you have repeats in the music called a vamp or a safety.
Yeah.
They're two different things, but they kind of have the same result, which is you're repeating until something happens
And then you get a cue
on stage. Okay. And then you give a cue. So the person is set the suitcase down or whatever. Okay, now it's time to go on. So you need to know all of those and practice that to be able to make that happen. So that's your two. It comes down to study.
Lots of studying.
Study with the score, study with the script, study in rehearsal, so that you know what's supposed to happen when, and you know how it's supposed to sound.
Does it ever get easier? Like, obviously, because once you do a musical, you learned it all. And then if you repeat it even 10 years down the line, obviously different direction, but
that's it. There's different direction, and the director may have a completely different idea, different tempo, different cuts in the score or the script. You know, I mean, it obviously helps to have done it before, so you don't have to completely relearn the score and all that kind of stuff, but you still have to learn what the director wants and how their concept for how it should
maybe kick out
work.
The ideas of the first director and just be like, okay, it's not there. It's not that one.
Yeah. It's never exactly the same.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. And as our final, is there anything else you would like to tell any of my students, any of the students out there, any of the adults that find this fascinating? My goodness, anything you want to leave us with before we end?
Keep learning, keep listening to music, keep reading the scores, broaden your musical horizons. Don't throw anything out. Oh, I don't like country music, I'm not going to listen to that. No, listen, learn about it, right? What makes it good or not good? Even if it's not good, you should know why it's not good, right? So keep listening, keep reading, always broaden your musical horizons.
I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much for being here, Greg. And thank you everybody for watching. Of course, One Music Channel, Voice and Production. This will be up for a month, and then it'll definitely be on our YouTube channel if you guys want to watch, or maybe type in more questions and whatnot. Check back. We have more music chats coming up. We have a workshop coming up. All things are going to be announced. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Happy summer, everybody. Bye.